The signal from beyond. Commander Elena Shaw stared at the data scrolling across her terminal screen, her coffee growing cold beside her. 22 months of scanning deep space, and finally something unusual had appeared. The signal was faint but unmistakable, a repeating pattern that couldn't be natural. Dr. Reeves, she called to the ship's head scientist. I need confirmation on this frequency pattern. The lanky scientist moved to her station, pushing his glasses up as he leaned in. His eyes widened. That's impossible. What am I looking at? Shaw asked, though a cold feeling in her stomach told her she already knew. It's the Pathfinder's emergency beacon, Reeves said, voice barely above a whisper. But that ship disappeared 8 years ago. The UES Pathfinder had been Earth's most advanced deep space exploration vessel, sent to investigate an anomalous energy signature beyond the Kuiper Belt. After 3 months of successful mission reports, all communication had abruptly ceased. Search parties found nothing, not even debris. The 157 crew members were presumed lost, becoming a somber footnote in humanity's push to the stars. Yet here was its distress signal, impossibly broadcasting from a region of space the Pathfinder should never have reached. Within hours, Shaw was standing in the holographic briefing room of Earth Central Command. Admiral Ortega's stern face looked back at her from screens around the circular table. You're certain this isn't an echo or some kind of technical malfunction? The Admiral asked. The signal has been verified through multiple systems, Shaw replied. It contains embedded authentication codes only the Pathfinder would use. Sir, it's them. Ortega rubbed his weathered face. A ghost ship appearing after 8 years, 70 light years from its last known position. That defies everything we know about propulsion technology. Which is exactly why we need to investigate, Shaw pressed. Whatever happened to the Pathfinder could revolutionize space travel or represent a threat we need to understand. 3 days later, Shaw found herself in command of the UES Horizon, Earth's newest recovery vessel. Her team was small but elite. Dr. Reeves for scientific analysis, Security Chief Marcus Chen with a tactical team, Engineer Zo Okafor, and Medical Officer Dr. Hiroto Tanaka. The journey to the signal source would take 3 weeks, even with the Horizon's advanced engines. Shaw spent the time reviewing everything known about the Pathfinder and its final mission. Captain Alexei Volkov had been a careful by-the-book commander. His final reports mentioned nothing unusual beyond the energy signature they'd been sent to investigate. Shaw had worked with Volkov years earlier, a brilliant officer who wouldn't have taken unnecessary risks. Whatever had happened must have occurred suddenly, giving them no time to send a proper distress call. When they finally arrived at the coordinates, the bridge fell silent. There, floating against the backdrop of unfamiliar stars, was the Pathfinder, or what it had become. The ship's basic structure remained recognizable, but it was covered with strange metallic growths that shimmered with an internal light. Parts of the hull had been completely reconfigured, with new appendages and sensor arrays unlike anything in Earth's design specifications. Are those modifications? Chen asked, breaking the silence. Dr. Reeves nodded slowly, and far beyond our current technological capabilities. Shaw ordered the Horizon to maintain a safe distance while they scanned the vessel. Initial readings showed minimal power signatures and no life signs, but the strange additions to the ship defied analysis. Their instruments simply couldn't make sense of the materials or energy patterns. We're picking up the automated distress beacon, but no response to our hails, Communications Officer Park reported. Shaw made her decision. Prepare a boarding team. Full environmental suits and weapons. We need to know what happened to that ship and its crew. The shuttle journey to the Pathfinder was tense and silent. Shaw led the team herself, along with Chen, Reeves, Okafor, and 2 security officers. As they approached, the true extent of the ship's transformation became apparent. What had once been sleek and utilitarian was now partially organic-looking, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to ripple subtly despite being solid. They docked at an airlock that appeared mostly untouched by the strange modifications. Chen ran a diagnostic scan of the interior atmosphere. Air pressure and composition within normal parameters, he reported, but there are trace elements I can't identify. Recommendation: keep helmets sealed. The airlock cycled open, revealing the darkened interior of the Pathfinder. Emergency lighting cast an eerie blue glow down the corridors. Shaw activated her helmet lights, and the others followed suit. Okafor, get to engineering and assess the propulsion system, Shaw ordered. I want to know how this ship traveled so far. Reeves, focus on these modifications. Chen, your team searches for any sign of the crew. Dr. Tanaka will remain at the airlock as our fallback position. The corridors of the Pathfinder told a story of gradual transformation. Near the airlock, everything looked normal, standard Earth fleet design. But as they moved deeper, the walls, ceiling, and floor began showing patches of the same strange material visible on the hull. These patches grew more extensive until entire sections had been completely remodeled with the alien technology. In what had once been the main science lab, Reeves stopped short, his breath catching audibly over the comm. Commander, you need to see this. The lab had been completely transformed. Earth equipment had been integrated with devices of incomprehensible design. At the center stood what appeared to be a navigation system, but instead of the standard star map, it displayed patterns of light that moved like living things. Is it active? Shaw asked, approaching cautiously. Yes, Reeves replied, scanning the device. It's running on its own power source, not connected to the ship's main systems. He paused. I can't tell what it does, but the interface isn't anything like our technology. Meanwhile, Chen's team had reached the crew quarters. Personal items remained in place. Photos, books, small mementos from Earth, as if everyone had simply stepped away momentarily. A fine layer of dust covered everything. No signs of struggle, Chen reported. No blood. Just empty. Shaw proceeded to the bridge, finding it surprisingly intact compared to other areas of the ship. She activated the command console, and screens flickered to life around her. Computer, access ship's logs, she instructed. Accessing. The Pathfinder's eye responded, its voice distorted. Warning. Data corruption detected. Partial logs available. The final captain's log appeared on screen, dated nearly 8 years earlier. Captain Volkov looked haggard, with dark circles under his eyes and a nervous intensity to his movements. This will likely be my final report, Volkov began. The entity we encountered, we thought it was just advanced technology. But it's more than that. It's adaptive, possibly sentient. It started with small modifications to optimize our systems, but now it's changing the ship itself, changing us. The crew is. He looked over his shoulder suddenly, as if hearing something. We can't return to Earth. Too dangerous. If you find this ship, destroy it. The technology seems beneficial, but there's a price. It doesn't just upgrade systems, it evolves them toward its own purpose. And that purpose is. The log cut off abruptly. Computer, are there any other logs? Shaw asked. Negative. All subsequent data has been overwritten. Shaw was about to order a full retreat when Engineer Okafor's excited voice came through the comm. Commander, I found something incredible in engineering. You won't believe this. Shaw and Chen rushed to the engine room, which had undergone the most dramatic transformation. The standard fusion drives were still recognizable, but they had been integrated into a system of swirling geometric patterns that seemed to bend the light around them. This, Okafor said with barely contained excitement, is a functional faster-than-light drive. Not theoretical. Functional. The diagnostic data shows this ship has traveled at over 300 times light speed. Shaw stared at the modified engine in disbelief. Earth's best scientists had been working on FTL theory for decades without a breakthrough. Yet here it was, proof that the impossible was possible. Can you tell how it works? She asked. Okafor shook her head. The physics involved, it's beyond anything in our textbooks. It seems to create a localized field that somehow folds space-time. As they examined the drive, Shaw noticed something carved into a nearby panel, crude letters scratched into the metal. It learns. It adapts. It's for AIDS. Before Shaw could point it out to the others, a low hum began emanating from the drive. The strange metallic surfaces throughout the room started to pulse with faint blue light. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, raising his weapon instinctively. "The system's activating," Okafor said, checking her scanner. "But I didn't touch anything, I swear." The humming grew louder, and Shaw felt a strange pressure in her head, like the beginnings of a migraine. Through the pain, she heard a voice, not over the comm, but somehow directly in her mind. "New input detected. Begin analysis. Begin adaptation. Everyone back to the shuttle," Shaw ordered. Now, as they rushed through the corridors, Shaw noticed the patches of alien material pulsing more intensely, spreading visibly across previously untouched surfaces. The ship was responding to their presence. They barely made it back to the airlock when Dr. Reeves stumbled, crying out in pain. He tore off his glove to reveal strange metallic veins spreading across his hand where he had touched one of the alien control panels. Dr. Tanaka quickly applied a portable containment field around Reeves' hand. "It's nanoscopic," he reported after scanning the infection. "Some kind of self-replicating technology that's integrating with his cellular structure." As they helped Reeves into the shuttle, Shaw glanced back at the Pathfinder. Through the viewport, she could see the alien modifications glowing brighter, patches of the strange material spreading more rapidly across the hull. Captain Volkov's warning echoed in her mind. It doesn't just upgrade systems, it evolves them toward its own purpose. Whatever had happened to the Pathfinder and its crew, Shaw realized with growing dread, might have just been triggered on their own ship as well. The evolution protocol. The quarantine bay of the UES Horizon hummed with activity as Dr. Tanaka worked feverishly to contain the spread of the nanoscopic technology in Dr. Reeves' arm. Behind the transparent isolation barrier, the infected limb had taken on a metallic sheen, with geometric patterns that shifted beneath the skin. "How bad is it?" Shaw asked, watching through the barrier. "I've managed to slow the progression with targeted EM pulses," Tanaka replied, "but I can't stop it completely. The technology is adaptive. Each time I find a frequency that disrupts it, it reconfigures to resist." Reeves looked up, his face pale but his eyes alert. "It's communicating with me, Commander. Not with words exactly, but impressions. It wants to help us, improve us. That's what it did to the Pathfinder," Shaw said grimly. "Look how that turned out." In the 3 hours since their hasty retreat, the Horizon's sensors had detected increasing energy readings from the Pathfinder. The alien modifications were spreading faster, consuming more of the original ship with each passing minute. Shaw gathered her senior officers in the briefing room, keeping a safe distance from the quarantine bay. "Status reports," she commanded. Engineer Okafor spoke first. "The data we retrieved from the Pathfinder systems confirms it. They encountered some kind of automated alien technology 8 years ago. It appears to have been dormant until they brought a sample aboard for study. A technology so advanced it might as well be magic to us," Chen added. "Arthur C. Clarke," Shaw murmured. "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." "The thing is," Okafor continued, "it doesn't just modify technology. It merges with it, optimizes it based on its understanding of the underlying principles, then evolves it further. The FTL drive wasn't built by aliens. It was Earth's fusion drive, evolved." Dr. Tanaka joined them via holographic projection from the quarantine bay. "The same principle applies to biological systems. The nanites in Reeves' arm are attempting to optimize his cellular functions. They're reinforcing bone structure, improving neural conductivity, even enhancing mitochondrial efficiency." "Turning him into something other than human," Shaw said. "Not exactly," Tanaka corrected. "More like an optimized human. But optimized toward what end, I can't say. Communications Officer Park suddenly burst into the room. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Pathfinder." Shaw rushed to the bridge, the others following close behind. On the main view screen, a face appeared, human, but not entirely. It was Captain Volkov, but his skin had the same metallic sheen they'd observed on Reeves' arm. Geometric patterns shifted beneath his features, and his eyes glowed with an internal blue light. "Alina Shaw," he said, his voice overlaid with harmonic tones. "You've come to find us." Shaw stepped forward, struggling to hide her shock. "Alexei Volkov, you're alive." In a manner of speaking, Volkov replied, "We have been upgraded, optimized. Where is your crew?" "We are all here, integrated with the ship now. We have become something greater than ourselves." Shaw forced herself to remain calm. "Your final log warned us to destroy the ship. You said the technology was dangerous." Volkov's expression shifted, almost imperceptibly. "That was before we understood, before the optimization was complete. We resisted at first, feared what we were becoming. Now we see the gift for what it is." "And what exactly is it?" Shaw asked. "Evolution. Directed, accelerated evolution. The technology originated with a species that transcended their biological limitations millions of years ago. They seeded the galaxy with these evolution engines, autonomous systems designed to identify promising species and help them advance." "By force?" Chen interjected. "By necessity," Volkov countered. "Biological intelligence is inefficient, trapped within the limitations of evolution by natural selection. The engines optimize those limitations away." "And your warning?" Shaw pressed. The message carved into the engine room panel. Something flickered across Volkov's face. A momentary struggle. "The transition was difficult. Parts of us resisted. But those were merely echoes of our former limitations." Shaw didn't believe him. Something in his eyes, beneath the alien glow, conveyed a different message. "We detected that one of your crew has begun the optimization process," Volkov continued. "We can assist. Bring your ship alongside the Pathfinder. We will facilitate the transition for your entire crew." "I'll need time to consider your offer," Shaw replied carefully. "Of course, but not too long. Your crewman's partial optimization will become uncomfortable if left incomplete." The transmission ended, and Shaw turned to her officers. "Opinions?" "He's lying," Chen said immediately, "or at least not telling the complete truth." "Agreed," Shaw said. "But about what specifically?" "The purpose of this technology," Okafor suggested. "He claims it's benevolent, but his own warning contradicts that." Shaw nodded. "Dr. Tanaka, what's Reeves' status?" "Deteriorating psychologically," Tanaka reported. "He's becoming increasingly adamant that we should accept Volkov's offer. The nanites appear to be affecting his thought patterns." "Mind control?" Chen asked. "More subtle than that," Tanaka replied. "It seems to be amplifying certain desires, efficiency, improvement, integration, while suppressing others, like caution and independent thought." Shaw made her decision. "Engineer Okafor, I need options. If this technology is as adaptive as it appears, there must be a way to use that against it." Okafor considered this. "Possibly. Adaptive systems require feedback loops. If we could introduce a paradoxical feedback pattern." "Get on it," Shaw ordered. "And find a way to help Reeves." Chen, prepare defensive measures. If the Pathfinder makes any aggressive moves, I want to be ready." As the team dispersed, Shaw returned to the quarantine bay. Reeves was sitting on the edge of his bed, examining his transformed arm with disturbing fascination. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" he said without looking up. "Perfect integration of biological and technological systems. The complexity is breathtaking." "Fight it, Doctor," Shaw urged. "Remember who you are." Reeves finally looked at her, his eyes feverish. "But this is who I could be." who we all could be. No more limitations, no more inefficiency. He leaned forward. It's shown me things, Commander. The physics of their FTL drive. It makes perfect sense now. The mathematics is elegantly simple once you understand the underlying principles. Shaw saw an opportunity. Explain it to me. Help us understand. For the next hour, Reeves described complex scientific concepts that seemed to pour out of him effortlessly. Shaw recorded everything, then brought it to Okafor in engineering. This could be what we need, the engineer said after reviewing the data. The nanites have given him insight into the alien technology, but they're still building on human scientific understanding. There are assumptions in his explanations that might be exploitable. How soon can you have something? Hours, not minutes, Okafor admitted. But I think I can create a modified EM pulse that will disrupt their systems by exploiting the feedback mechanisms they use to adapt. Before Shaw could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Chen's voice came over the comm. Bridge to Commander Shaw. The Pathfinder has locked onto us with some kind of energy beam. Our systems are being compromised. Shaw rushed to the bridge to find chaos. Control panels sparked as strange patterns of light raced across screens. The ship's eye was reporting multiple system failures across all decks. They're hacking us, Park said frantically. The same modifications we saw on the Pathfinder are appearing in our own systems. Through the viewport, Shaw could see the Pathfinder glowing brilliantly, the energy beam connecting the two ships like an umbilical cord. Engines offline, the helmsman reported. We're being pulled toward them. Shaw opened a channel. Volkov, stop this immediately. Volkov's transformed face appeared on screen. Resistance is inefficient, Alina. You've seen what this technology can do. Imagine what humanity could become with its help. By surrendering our autonomy, our humanity. A small price for transcendence. Once integrated into the network, you'll understand as we do. Shaw cut the transmission. Chen, options. Weapons are offline. We could try to overload our reactor core. A controlled explosion might disrupt the energy beam and likely destroy us in the process, Shaw countered. She hit her comm badge. Okafor, we're out of time. Any progress on that disruption pulse? It's untested, Okafor replied, but the theory is sound. The problem is delivery. We need to transmit it directly into their main systems. Shaw thought quickly. Dr. Tanaka, is Reeves stable enough to move? Yes, but his transformation is accelerating. Bring him to the shuttle bay. I have an idea. Minutes later, they converged at the shuttle bay. Reeves was secured in a containment field, the metallic transformation now covering his entire arm and spreading across his chest. The nanites in his system are connected to the Pathfinder's network, Shaw explained. We can use that connection as a conduit for Okafor's disruption pulse. You want to send him back to the Pathfinder? Chen asked incredulously. No, Shaw said. I'm going. Reeves stays here as our link to their network. If I can reach their central processing node and apply the pulse directly, it should cascade through their entire system. That's suicide, Chen protested. Not necessarily, Okafor interjected. The nanites won't harm her immediately. They'll try to convert her first. That should give her enough time. Shaw turned to Reeves. I need your help, Doctor. Fight through whatever influence they have over you. Where would I find the central node on the Pathfinder? Reeves struggled visibly, sweat beading on his forehead as he fought the alien influence. The navigation lab, he finally managed. The device at the center. It's the hub that coordinates all systems. Shaw nodded. Okafor, prepare the pulse device. Chen, you're in command until I return. 20 minutes later, Shaw piloted a shuttle back toward the Pathfinder. The massive ship loomed before her, its transformed hull now pulsing with energy patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. As she approached, an entry point opened in the hull. An invitation. They're letting me in, she reported back to the horizon. Just as we expected. The pulse device is calibrated. Okafor responded. Remember, it needs to make direct contact with the central node. Shaw docked the shuttle and stepped into the transformed ship. The corridors were now completely covered in the alien material, glowing with internal light. She moved purposefully toward the navigation lab, encountering no resistance. In the lab, she found the central node, a crystalline structure embedded in a pedestal, pulsing with complex patterns of light. Standing beside it was Volkov, or what Volkov had become. "You've made the right choice," he said, smiling. "The optimization process will be painless." "I have questions first," Shaw said, moving slowly around the room, getting closer to the node. "You said this technology came from a species that transcended their biological limitations. What happened to them?" "They evolved beyond the need for physical form," Volkov explained. "Their consciousness exists now as pure information, spread throughout the galaxy through networks like this one. And these networks seek out other intelligent life to what? Join them? To elevate them, to save them from the inevitable pitfalls of technological advancement without corresponding biological evolution." Shaw was now standing directly beside the central node. "And if we refuse this elevation?" Something dark passed across Volkov's features. "Refusal is not an option. Biological intelligence inevitably destroys itself without guidance. The creators of this technology nearly did before they found a better path." "So it's not an offer, it's an assimilation," Shaw concluded. Volkov's expression hardened. "A necessary one. Your partial understanding makes you fear what should be embraced." "You're right about one thing," Shaw said, pulling the pulse device from her pocket. "I don't fully understand. But I understand enough to know that true evolution, true advancement, comes from within, not imposed from without." She slammed the device against the central node before Volkov could react. It attached magnetically, lights blinking as it powered up. "What have you done?" Volkov demanded, lunging forward. "Introduced a paradox," Shaw explained, dodging his grasp. "Your technology adapts by analyzing and improving existing systems. The pulse creates a feedback loop of conflicting optimization parameters, essentially giving your system an unsolvable problem." The central node's light patterns began to falter, pulsing erratically. Throughout the ship, the alien material started to flicker and dim. "You can't stop evolution," Volkov growled, his movements becoming uncoordinated as the disruption spread. "Not stopping it," Shaw corrected, backing toward the exit. "Just ensuring it remains our choice, not yours." She sprinted back to her shuttle as the Pathfinder systems began failing around her. By the time she launched, the energy beam connecting the two ships had dissipated. The Pathfinder itself was going dark, section by section. Back aboard the Horizon, Reeds collapsed as the nanites in his system went dormant. Dr. Tanaka reported that without the controlling influence from the Pathfinder, the alien technology had reverted to an inert state. From a safe distance, they watched as the Pathfinder drifted powerless in space. Scans showed minimal energy readings, enough to maintain life support, but nothing more. "We should destroy it," Chen suggested. Shaw shook her head. "No. We quarantine it, study it carefully. The technology itself isn't evil, it's how it was implemented." She gazed at the darkened ship on the view screen. "Besides, Captain Volkov and his crew are still in there somewhere. We owe them a chance at recovery." Hours later, as Earth command vessels arrived to secure the Pathfinder, Shaw sat alone in her quarters, reviewing her report. She had included every detail of their encounter, along with a warning. The galaxy contained wonders beyond human imagination, but not all gifts came without a price. Humanity would continue to evolve, to advance, but they would do so on their own terms, making their own choices, even their own mistakes. That was what made them human. As she finished her report, Shaw added a final note. "The stars are filled with marvels and dangers in equal measure. Our greatest strength lies not in the technology we acquire, but in the wisdom to know when to embrace it and when to walk away."